Hi guys, I am really excited to look at your guys' vlog posts. I've been looking at some of them and I'm really happy to see your guys' faces again. I miss seeing your faces. And I'll be putting in grades for those later today. As long as you're turning things in and trying, your grade is good in this class now. So today we're going to start looking at research and an introduction to research. And one of the first things we're going to talk about, or the first thing we're going to talk about, is primary and secondary resources. We want to talk about what good research is, what makes a good research, what makes a resource dependable, right? And people might say it's not Wikipedia and it has .org, but that's really oversimplified stuff that we tell middle schoolers. So we're going to try to get a little bit more specific here. So one of the first things I want you guys to look at is whether or not it's a primary or secondary source. Now, it doesn't mean that secondary sources aren't good, but if it's a primary source, you know it's a good resource. So what is a primary source and what is a secondary source? If you look at my screen here, I have it up. So primary sources are immediate firsthand accounts of a topic from people that had direct connection with it. Primary sources can include texts of law and other original documents, newspaper reports by reporters who witnessed an event or who quote people who did, speeches, diaries, letters, and interviews, what the people involved said or wrote. Original research, so not the article that summarizes the study, the actual study is the primary resource. Data sets, survey data such as census or economic statistics, photographs, video, or audio that capture an event. So this is one way you can tell whether or not you're looking at dependable research. And we're going to give a bunch of ways throughout these next few weeks. But this is one way. If it's a primary resource, you know it's a pretty good resource for you to quote. So one thing that people have been arguing about, I guess, is whether or not Trump said we should inject disinfectants into our bodies. There was a press conference and a doctor came forward and talked about how light can sometimes kill the virus, light and heat. But that's not going to get rid of it by any means with the summertime, but it's something that can help, and disinfectants can kill the virus in 1 minute. And he gives this presentation. And then Trump starts talking and he says, oh, light, we could do like UV treatments. Has that been shown as a treatment? And one of the doctors said, no, it's not really done as a treatment, but a fever is always good. Anyway, so all of this happened, and in that there's an argument about whether or not Trump suggested that we inject disinfectants into our body and study that and see if that would be a good cure. And some people are saying he didn't say that. Some people are saying he did. President Trump says he said it sarcastically. But here we have a primary resource where it shows you the footage of what he said. So the doctor talks about how disinfectants can kill in 1 minute, and here's what President Trump comes forward and says in this interview.
Injecting someone with a disinfectant.
Then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning that you're going to have to use medical doctors with? But it sounds interesting to me.
This morning, medical experts are nearly unanimous in saying that trying unproven treatments can prove to be very dangerous, especially ingesting or injecting disinfectants. In fact, the maker of Lysol has issued a warning this morning concerned that people may try it. The maker of Lysol is saying we must be clear that under no circumstances should our disinfectant products be administered into the human body through injection, ingestion, or any other route.
Okay, so this story counts as a primary resource because it's not just a news story where they say what they think Trump said and what they think the Lysol company said. They show you the actual footage of President Trump speaking so that you get to see for yourself exactly what he said, exactly what tone of voice he said it in. That counts as a primary resource because they're quoting President Trump. And then they also take another direct quote, as you see here, from the Lysol company, where they say, under no circumstance should we be injecting disinfectant products into the human body. So you're seeing the actual direct quotes, which makes this a primary resource, even though it's from a news station, right? And President Trump later came out and said it was sarcasm and he was testing the reporters. So that was his response and his defense. But when you're doing your research, one really good way to know whether or not something is a resource that you could use is whether or not it's a primary resource, right? We could quote President Trump about this because we know this is actually what he said because we watched him say it, right? And so that's why this would count as a primary resource and therefore would be a good thing to quote if you were doing research on this topic. All right. Thanks, guys. That's primary and secondary resources.